Here we are, we're in the lovely city of San Francisco on a beautiful day with Santiago achaval, partner and winemaker of Hand of God Wines, and we're lucky to have him here. He's headed back to Argentina today because it's almost harvest time. What's this year look like in terms of the growing and the harvesting and where we're at?
We're almost ready. The grapes will be harvestable, the tannins will be ripe, my guess, in 10 days. So we'll start with the Merlot in roughly 10 days and then move on to the Malbec, the Syrah, and therefore the Viognier will fall roughly between the Merlot and the Malbec.
How's this season been different from last year?
Well, we had a late frost in November, and even though we were not frosted out, that is, we didn't suffer frost damage in the sense that plants that were the shoots killed or anything, the fruit set was poor in terms of commercial production. That means that the bunch is looser, the less grapes on the bunch, and that makes for a very high quality year. I'm guessing right now, and from the flavors I've tasted in the vineyard, it'll be a fantastic year. Our production is roughly the same size because as we drop a lot of fruit at veraison, we've just dropped less. Instead of leaving one heavy bunch per shoot, we have left 2 or 1.5 lighter bunches in each shoot. So I'm very, very optimistic about this year.
And now is an interesting time because so much can happen even weeks, days before the harvest, and we guess
we are looking at the forecast on an hourly basis. My browser opens 10 different weather forecasts. And yeah, because if it rains half an inch, you wait 5 more days. You need to wait. You need to let the plant dry out, dehydrate, reconcentrate, and then, but at the same time, you want to get the perfect harvesting moment. That is when you have the peak of aromas matches with the peak of phenolic ripeness and the burst of flavors, and you haven't lost the acidity. So it's interesting. to put it in the frame of may you live in interesting times, the curse, well, this is interesting times.
I mean, and at the end of the day, you know, the magic of wine, you're still a farmer.
You are a farmer, you're in the hands of Mother Nature, in the hands of God. So yes.
Well, that's a good segue into the Hand of God. And here we have 2 bottles of our barrel samples.
Yeah,
maybe
these are not our labels.
Yes, they'll be a little different from this, but they do explain what we have. Why don't you tell us what we have here?
Well, here it's unopened, but we had a full bottle of that last night. This is our Sobremesa Vineyard Syrah Malbec Petit Verdot blend. It's an estate vineyard. It's planted, a young vineyard. It was planted in 2007. And it has surprised us with the density of the fruit and the tannin structure that is normally not expected from young vines. So this is behaving like the vineyard had 7 to 10 years old. So we are very optimistic about this coming up. It is a very complex layered blend, and one of the things we found out also with the other one that's an old vine Malbec, we call it Stone Cross Old Vine Malbec. Also a single vineyard, we found out that these wines are requiring more barrel time. So it's all for you, the consumer, the drinker of this wine. We will take the hit and not release, not bottle upcoming May. Instead we'll wait for, I don't know, up to 6 more months in the barrel. And we'll be bottling in September for a release in either late November or early January next year. So, but we believe that you need a bottle that is at its best and no shortcuts. That's our commitment, so that's why we're doing it.
And these are in what kind of oak barrels?
Both are in French oak. I don't very much like the influence of American oak on Malbec. And the old vine, the Stone Cross Old Vine Malbec is 100% new oak. And the Sobremesa blend is 50% new oak and 50% 1-year-old oak.
The blend, it's unusual because you're doing a Syrah Malbec blend. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, I call it a Malbec Syrah because there's slightly a bit more Malbec in there than there is Syrah. And coming from Argentina, you always want to lead with the Malbec part of the blend. It is not usual. It is, but I like how the Syrah gives it some exotic, spicier notes versus the traditional Bordeaux grapes that normally go with Malbec, like Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or Cabernet Franc. So it's very interesting. It's very, I wouldn't say new worldly, but it is a bit more new world than other Bordeaux blends that I've tasted, even I've made in Mendoza, and it has a very hedonistic appeal to it.
And on the old vine, Stone Cross, it's unusual, first of all, to find vines that old, but you are very good and are known for your sense of creating place in the bottle. Do you think we've captured that in this?
Actually, it's not me. I don't create any place. The vineyard does. What I like is I'm passionate about old vines. I spend a lot of time looking for them, and I've gathered some knowledge about them and some respect for them. Mainly it's respect and letting them do their thing. So, and yes, the Stone Cross Vineyard has a sense of place. It has a signature, a character to it that it ultimately is what justifies a single vineyard bottling and the higher expense that is for the consumer.
Great. Well, we're certainly excited about what we have in bottle here, and you know, come holiday season, we might have some gifts for people.
Yep.
And
hey, not gifts. We'll be selling this one.
well, for people to give the gifts.
That's better, that's better.
and let's keep our fingers crossed. The next couple of weeks are great for this year's harvest.
We've been lucky to being able to launch with a 2010 vintage that was glorious in Mendoza, but it's very, very, very good. And up to now, we have the second in a row. It could be great, unless, as you say, keep our fingers crossed. Here is to a great 2011. Mendoza.
Cheers.
Cheers.